Congressman Joey Salceda sees another round of price hikes next week. He says gasoline may go up by 11 pesos per liter, diesel by more than 9 pesos, and kerosene by more than 8 pesos. Lawmakers are drumming up calls to suspend excise taxes on oil to help slash the cost of fuel by 6 to 10 pesos. Joining us now live is Finance Assistant Secretary Paola Alvarez. ASEC Paola, thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. Oil prices are soaring as we can see. Local pump prices are up. Is the Department of Finance heeding the urgent call to suspend excise taxes?
Okay. Thank you, Rico, for having us here tonight. And just to clarify matters, as a matter of principle, from an economic and fiscal perspective, the Department of Finance opposes the proposal that aims to suspend the imposition of fuel excise taxes. So why? Why so? Because first, it will translate to significant foregone revenues. Second, it will be detrimental to our recovery and is inequitable. So how do we say these, how do we explain these things? So first, for the full year revenue loss projection for the proposed suspension is estimated at 117.4 billion or 0.5% of our GDP. In return, this will increase our national government deficit from 7.7% to 8.2% of GDP in 2022 if we do the same level of government spending. Also, the proposal will slow down our economic recovery because if you look at the cost-benefit analysis, the expected proposal will only temporarily lower down the prices of goods by 0.03 percentage points in 2022.
Yes.
But the unrealized government spending from the foregone revenues will hamper our economic growth
Yes.
and result in lower
ASEC Alvarez, I understand, no? It will be lost revenues for the government. But the bottom line here is it will affect our kababayans. Can we not at least suspend excise taxes for a short period of time to give our fellow Filipinos some kind of reprieve? Because oil prices have been going up for the past several months, and also the prices of goods and services.
Yes, we understand that, no. However, if you look at the tax suspension, the proposed suspension will only be more advantageous to higher income households because when you look at it, the top 10% of households are estimated to consume 48.8%, or around half of the total fuel supply in 2022. Meanwhile, the bottom 50%, or those that you say are heavily affected, will only consume 13.9% of the fuel supply. So what we want to do is to subsidize the poor instead of the higher income households. So what are we going to do that? So instead of suspending the overall excise taxes, what we want to do is to give targeted support to the vulnerable groups who will be the ones who will be actually feeling the brunt of the
and of course, the targeted group are basically the public utility drivers and the farmers. So, ASEC Alvarez, is that a flat no from the Department of Finance for the suspension of excise taxes? Because gas prices, according to Congressman Salceda, will go up again next week. Do you think that the DOF will revisit this issue, at least a excise tax reduction?
Yes, what we're looking at is instead of suspending it, we will release an additional 2.5 billion for the fuel subsidy program of the Department of Transportation to provide fuel vouchers to over 377,000 qualified public utility vehicle drivers. So these are jeepneys, UV Express, taxis, tricycles, and other full-time ride-hailing and delivery services nationwide.
Yeah, but ASEC Alvarez, I've been talking to a lot of PUD drivers over the past months. A lot of them haven't even received this pantawid sa pasada money that was already allocated in the past bayanihan bills. How sure are we that our drivers who are suffering because of low fares will be getting the money on time?
Yes, what we're looking at is how we already distributed the pantawid pasada. So these are via land bank and the government programs. And what we're looking at is how the actual drivers who are operating and are actually qualified are the ones who are supposed to receive them. So we're looking into how many of them are actually registered, how many of them are qualified.
So is the President meeting with the Department of Finance to at least discuss, consider options in suspending the fuel excise tax? Are there these kinds of decisions? Because even the President's allies, Congressman Joey Salceda and Senator Win Gatchalian, want a special session of Congress on March 15 to suspend the fuel excise tax.
Yes, so this is actually being discussed within the cabinet cluster, the economic development cluster, and they actually talk to the president. And of course, the DOF, our standpoint is for the fiscal position and the economic growth projection. So that's what the DOF is looking at as part of our mandate.
So is there sort of like a breaking point, ASEC Alvarez? Could there be a breaking point in terms of prices of oil per liter that will make the Department of Finance say, oh yes, we have to suspend the fuel excise tax? Or is it really a flat no, even though we see 100 pesos per liter?
Yes. So at the end of the day, it's still a decision that is to be taken by the leadership. So at the end of the day, it's still a matter of discussion within the cabinet members. So of course, the Department of Finance will look at the fiscal impacts. So we're going to explain to the president, we're going to explain to the cabinet members that these will be the fiscal impacts, these will be the economic impacts. And at the end of the day, it is still, of course, the decision of the leadership, like the president and your legislative bodies, if they will suspend. Because at the end of the day, this requires a law. And that's why you have both houses of Congress also in discussion with your executive branch.
Because the government should definitely act very swiftly, ASEC Alvarez, because they should not try to make money on the pain of Filipino consumers. Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word, Finance Assistant Secretary Paola Alvarez.